Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of the viewers from around the world. This is your host Vaibhav. For today's session of correlation and regression, we will be considering the various instruments of the same class for comparison, carrying out the relative comparison to figure out the strength and weaknesses of the trend, and using that we can look for the opportunities to profit in these dynamic markets where the opportunities keep arising, but we have to determine which opportunities are to be taken and which opportunities are to be ignored. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the chart for the Euro USD with the candle period of 5 minutes, and this range I have added. These ranges of 4 hours with the Donchian channel having the calculation period of 48 with each candle period being 5 minutes. That simply translates to 240 minutes, alright. And another this range is for 24 Donchian channels, and that translates to 120 minutes, so that's 2 hours. And we are also considering the average price moves of last 1 hour and 2 hours respectively to get a good idea of the immediate price dynamic, as most of the time the trades we take have to bring in profit fast, and as a result of that we do have to pay attention to the immediate price action prior to the entering into the trade. So if we consider the price momentum of the Euro USD so far for the day, we saw these first, if we go back to the Asian trading hours, we saw the open on the lower side. We had a gap down open for the Euro USD with prior close was at around 1.04, whereas the start happened 30 to 40 pips lower. Then that bearish momentum continued for a while, and we saw the low of 1.034 being made. But it was then a turnaround of sort, and the momentum picked up on the bullish side, especially after the start of European trading session with these gains of almost 150 pips, and it remained bit shy of 1.05. So high is at 1.04967, but it seems like in coming days, if not in coming hours, we will of course see, most probably see, it's never certain, but most probably we will see the high above 1.05. So I think that is now a matter of time, as the momentum, if we consider even from larger time frame perspective, like on the 24-hour time frame, here also this spurt is quite strong, and if we see some sort of consolidation without a break on the lower side, then in due course of time we can even expect a further rally with the formation being of higher highs if we compare it to the prior swing high and a higher low. So that possibility is quite strong at the moment now, but we have to stick with the immediate time frame. And as the US session is going to get underway very soon in an hour, we have to look at the opportunities which are likely to come our way. So here, if we consider the Euro USD's momentum for the time being, I think it is now in a consolidation phase with these substantial gains already in place. So I'm not really expecting any big move for the day, but any trade which is to be taken should be given a preference on the buy side, as we have seen dollar on the weaker side for the day against most of the major currencies. I think the exception can be made out for JPY. JPY seems to be on the weaker side, and there we have seen the USD JPY climbing on the higher side after falling in the earlier hours. But that aside, in other currency crosses against most of the major currencies, we have seen dollar trading on the back foot, and these gains for euro in particular have been quite substantial. So for euro, I think the momentum is strongly in the bullish territory, and it is a matter of time, or you can say a consolidation first, and after that we can get ready for the further rally. But allow it some more time, maybe a couple of hours more, and they will that will get you a lot more clarity on the ongoing consolidation phase. And if we don't really see any fresh break much deeper below 1.04, and in that scenario, after due consolidation, we can indeed think about going in for the initiation of the new trade, and in course of time we will also see these 12-hour as well as the 24-hour moving average also catching up with this price action, so that will be a added advantage to trade with. Now we have to see the relative strength and the momentum. If we have to go short in the dollar, or if we have to go long in other major currencies, we have to determine which is the strongest bet and which is the weakest bet, and indeed we should be going for shorting of the US dollar. So for that we can take help of various currency crosses, and for that we will be comparing the currency crosses like AUD USD, GBP USD, NZD USD, USD JPY, USD CHF, USD CAD, etc. amongst themselves to see the relative strength of the momentum. So let's start with the first alphabetical order, AUD. And for the AUD, the momentum has been kind of mixed for the day. It also started on the lower side, then this decline happened of a substantial amount, and after this consolidation, again the momentum picked up, and we saw it climbing to the not exactly the highest point. I think the prior high still remains the day's high at 0.6727. This immediate swing high was made at 0.6724, so it was a bit less compared to the prior swing high, and this decline is also substantial for the Euro USD compared to the decline is substantial for AUD USD compared to the Euro USD, so we do have to take that in account. For the Euro USD, the gains have been solid and the momentum has been quite strong, but that doesn't really seem to be the case with the AUD USD. AUD USD seems like more of a case of sideways momentum with these moves quite good enough. If we simply go by a ranging trade, in that sense, the moves have been quite wide, but there is lack of a clear-cut trend for the AUD. So if you have to indeed take any short sell trade, in that scenario, the Euro USD has to be given a preference, and AUD USD, it is not really showing that much clarity, but I don't really think it is an instrument which can be shorted. The USD doesn't really have that bearish momentum as well. So here, more of an case of range bound trade can be made where we can concentrate or focus on going for the long opportunities closer to the prior support. And if things turn out, and if after consolidation we doesn't really see a break on the higher side, in that kind of scenario, we can also start looking for shorting of the AUD against the dollar, so that possibility is there, but as things stand we will have to give it more time, and the preference for the long trade against the dollar it still remains with the Euro USD is better placed. Now let's see the case of GBP USD. For GBP USD, the momentum has been quite strong. It also went on to make a fresh high at 1.211. After that, this correction has happened, but it is still holding well, and it is still quite above this prior low, day's low. So in this case, the momentum is also strong on the upper side, but it is lagging in its movement compared to the Euro USD. It went on to make this low, fresh low at 1420 GMT. If we compare that to the Euro USD, the Euro USD is still to touch its 4-hourly low. So for us, we still have the momentum with the bullish side strongest in the Euro USD, and then it is followed by the GBP USD, and we have the weakest of these in the AUD USD. For NZD USD, the things are a bit different. It is also showing a stronger inclination towards the bullish side. And if we look at its price moves, this 4-hourly low happened at 1430 GMT, whereas for GBP USD, it happened a bit early at 1420 GMT. So in terms of the relative strength and weakness, the NZD seems to be leading the GBP USD in its bullish trend, in its bullish momentum, in these short-term price action data. So we have to now this rank of all these currencies with the euro in the lead and the following it, and these two are then followed by GBP USD and AUD USD respectively. Now we turn the scales and see what's happening in the USD CAD, USD CHF, and USD JPY. So we have to invert the charts, and if we go to the USD CAD, CAD was pretty weak earlier in the day with this substantial decline happening of almost 70 pips, and after that it went into a consolidation phase which is still lasting. It is still into a consolidation phase with not much of clarity. I think here the picture is a bit confusing, but it is still the case of trading within the range, just like the AUD USD. So here, I think it is weaker compared to even the AUD. If we look at its price formation with this low coming in at 9:20 GMT. Let me now consider the formation of the AUD. For AUD, this 4 hourly high happened at 10:25 GMT. So in that sense, the USD CAD was leading. And if we now consider the ongoing contra move, here also the Duncan channel is giving the timeline of 15:20 GMT. So it is still stronger compared to the AUD. The CAD is still stronger compared to the AUD, but it is not really that strong. And we still have to give the first preference to the Euro and then NZD. And I think for any sort of trend reversal opportunities where we expect the dollar to get strong from these levels, in that scenario, the USD CAD should be given a choice. But it is, as I said, it is better for us to trade with the AUD. The CAD is seems to be following the AUD. For USD CHF, the momentum has been strong. CHF has appreciated a lot, and it is, I think, mostly in line with its European peers, where we have substantial strength for both Euro USD as well as the GBP USD, and the USD CHF is also on the similar trajectory with CHF gaining ground for the day against the dollar. But whether it will be happen to hold on to those gains or not, only time will tell. Here, if we look at its current price trajectory, I think this is now approaching this prior swing high, and if in this ongoing consolidation it doesn't really break above it, then the initiation of the new short sale trades can be taken, where we can expect it to further decline towards this immediate swing low. But as I said, we have the first preference in the Euro USD against the dollar, and that still remains the case. For contra trade, I think in that sense, we can go for the USD JPY as the first preference. It is on the weaker side and it is looking weaker even than the AUD. Here we have substantial gains on the upper side as well. So if we consider the price action of the USD JPY, it is now seemingly in the phase of correction which is deepening, and if we don't really see any sort of turnaround, and if it holds above this immediate swing low, then after due consolidation, whenever we feel and get the price dynamic turning out or evolving in such a way where we have the possibility of USD strengthening further, then we can keep the USD JPY into consideration, and as the things will stand at that point in time, depending on the relative strength of the momentum between USD JPY, AUD USD, and USD CAD, we can go for the initiation of the trade on the dollar side. All right. So now let us we go to the equity space and see how things are turning out for the equity segment. The day has been quite topsy-turvy. We started with these gap down open, and those lower opening were then followed by further decline. And some time back, with this rise of around 150 pips, it indeed seemed like the things will change for the US 30, but after that again it declined, and now it is holding on to these immediate swing low of 34,100. And I feel moving ahead, going into the US trading session, if we see these levels holding, if we see some sort of correction, but if it doesn't really break much on the lower side, if we see 34,000 level holding, then later in the day, after a couple of hours of consolidation, we can indeed think about going long in the Dow Jones Industrial Average with the expectation of these immediate swing high being breached, and a new formation can be expected. So we do have that possibility with these Dow Jones price action dynamic, with the momentum in a sideways manner. It is not really bearish, strongly bearish, and if we consider its larger time frame formation, it is still on the bullish side. So keeping that in mind, this level is going to be crucial. We had this correction and consolidation prior closer to the 34,000, and that levels, I think that level is going to be still important. So here pay attention to the price dynamic for next couple of hours, and if we see 34,000 holding, then there is a strong possibility of reversal and continuation on the higher side, with this eventual target coming closer to the immediate swing high of 34,000, or even 34,400, or even beyond that. Now we have to figure out the relative strength and weaknesses of these various equity indices. So for that, let us first consider the three key equity indices for the US. If we look at the price dynamic of the S&P 500, it is trading almost similarly as was the case with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. But if we look at its gains from the low, it is looking bit stronger. There is not much of a difference, but it is indeed looking bit stronger compared to the US 30, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And keeping that in mind, I think if we indeed decide to go long for the US equity futures, then in that scenario, the S&P 500 should be given the first preference, looking at its relative strength, even though it is only slightly stronger. But then we have to go for the buy trade with the highest or strongest of the bullish momentum, and in that case is the Nasdaq seems to be having a clear lead with its reversal. And if we look at its gains from the lowest point, those are quite substantial. It is almost close to the immediate swing high, whereas for the Dow Jones and the S&P 500, the gains are not that substantial in terms of its relative move, this prior decline. And keeping that in mind, we can indeed safely say that the Nasdaq is the strongest on the bullish side of these three key equity indices for the US. So the first preference, as and when you decide to go long, should be with these Nasdaq, and it is likely to then break past this immediate swing high, and eventually go toward these eventually it might try to even get back into the bullish momentum, and this 11,900 level should be inside as the next target. In decline on the Friday session, we had this steep decline for the Nasdaq, followed by these losses earlier in the day. But after this sharp decline, it is also showing some signs of reversal on the lower side. So as long as this immediate swing low holds, and if we don't really see any substantial decline later in the day, then eventually we can indeed give it a try for the long trade. Let's see the development for the European equity indices. The DAX, it is trading pretty much similar to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It hasn't really been able to claw back its losses. It is hovering closer to this immediate swing low of 14,380, and as it looks like that it is not really able to muster much strength on the bullish side, and the momentum is on the bearish side, so we should avoid going long in the case of the DAX. Maybe if after due consolidation the momentum shifts for the US equity indices also, in that case the short sell preference I think lies with the DAX. It is looking weaker compared to all the three key equity indices for the US intraday situation. So if we get the confirmation of the bearishness prevailing in the US equity indices, in that scenario, the DAX is likely to be a better bet for short selling, as it is stronger on the bearish side and it is weaker on the bullish side. For the for the FTSE 100, let's consider the momentum there. Here it comes. For the FTSE 100, the momentum is strongly on the bullish side. It also started the day lower compared to the Friday's close, and then this strong decline was there. But after that, if we look at its price formation, it has been able to climb above this immediate swing high formed during the early hours of the European trading session, and right now it is one of the closest to the immediate swing high. So the momentum seems as of now quite in the favor of the bullish trade, long trade. And if we get the confirmation, then I think we will have a better bet going long in the FTSE 100 for the day. So this is one of the strongest on the bullish side, whereas its peer, the DAX, which is the Germany's leading index, was stronger on the bearish side. It is seemingly even on the positive side, even compared to the Nasdaq. And let's consider the case of CAC 40. CAC 40, it's the story of contrast. It is one of the strongest on the bearish side, and here I think it is pretty much in line with the trajectory of the DX. So it should be avoided for any sort of long trade, and it it is not showing much of a difference compared to the DX, and DX being with higher liquidity and longer trading hours. I think of course the short sell preference will have to be with the DX instead of even CAC 40, which is looking equally strong on the bearish side. So that's the take. That's the take on the equity segment with these mixed sentiments prevailing. But for the European equity indices, the things are looking more bearish. But in European equity space, the FTSE 100 is a bit of an outlier. There, we have seen it climbing back above the immediate swing high. So that's the story of contrast. And if we look at the three key equity indices for the US. We have the Nasdaq, where the momentum is strong with this formation of a fresh 4 hourly high happening right now. So as things stabilize and after the start of the US equity session, we can indeed start looking for opportunities to go long in the Nasdaq or FTSE 100. But if we get the confirmation of the bearish break on the lower side, then I think the preference for short selling can be given to DAX or even the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So that's my take at current pricing scenario for these instruments. And before we wrap up the session, let's also consider the commodity futures of light crude oil here. The light crude oil has traded in a narrow range of around $1, and it is not showing any substantial inclination. If we go by its prior price formation, after this decline of almost 6 to 7%, it seems to be consolidating on the lower side with not much of an buying momentum on the lower side. So we should stick with the trend, and as and when we get the opportunity to go short, that should be exploited. So we have to see which one is the strongest and which one is the weakest of the light crude and the Brent. So let's take a look on the Brent. I think it is not included in the subscribed instrument, so I got it now. For the Brent, this 4-hourly low came in at 13:45 GMT. After that, this 4-hourly high came in at 15:20 GMT. And if we compare it to the light crude, 13:45 and 15:20, it's almost similar. So there is not much of a difference between their trajectories, and there is not much of a lag in the price momentum as well. So I think most of these then will boil down to the relative moves in terms of the magnitude, and you will have to decide as and when there is a fresh break on the lower side. So till then, pay attention to this price dynamic, and there should not be any significant break on the higher side. And after a couple of hours of consolidation, you can indeed think about shorting the light crude oil or Brent for that matter. So that's all from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write back to me in the feedback section, and I will be more than happy to take the discussion forward. See you guys tomorrow with fresh assessment depending on the price dynamic prevalent at that point in time. So I'll be back. See you. Thank you all.